You know, if you look at the larger picture, the media narratives that have been coming out throughout the past 2 years regarding the Russia investigation and regarding this FISA court abuse, the mainstream media was writing off Kimberly Strassel, Molly Hemingway at the Federalist as conspiracy theorists who are really a danger to our country for putting forth their theories that the so-called deep state is abusing their FISA power in opening this investigation into Trump campaign officials. And then on the other hand, you have the mainstream media giving each other awards for peddling a different so-called conspiracy theory that President Trump colluded with Russia to win the 2016 election. These were two sort of working theories, and yet the mainstream media smeared one of them as a conspiracy theory and then handed each other out awards for the other one. And at the end of the day, what are we finding out? We're finding out that Kimberly Strassel of the Wall Street Journal was right, the writers at the Federalist were right, and yet the mainstream media still will not apologize.
To your point, media critics now saying this is a media scandal. Here's the media claiming authoritatively for years that the Steele dossier was correct when it turns out it was false. Watch this.
The dossier has been corroborated by the intelligence community.
The dossier, in fact, is far from bogus.
Increasingly, it's the accurate dossier.
So far, nothing in the dossier has been disproved.
The Steele dossier just rings true to me.
What about Christopher Steele? They got MI6 guy, the ex-MI6 guy, who did the famous dossier, which is getting a lot more credibility now than it did.
There was no such wiretap activity.
We've heard from the intelligence community and from many others that there was no wiretapping of anybody in the Trump campaign.
Okay, media critics is saying this is remarkably incompetent analysis. Here's MSNBC's Lara O'Donnell with former CIA Director John Brennan declaring definitively that the false propaganda that Robert Mueller will be indicting President Trump and his family was on the way. Now they're all going to go to jail. Watch this.
I don't think Robert Mueller will want to have that dramatic flair of the Ides of March when he is going to be delivering what I think are going to be his indictments, the final indictments, as well as the report that he gives to the Attorney General. We think also if anybody from the Trump family, an extended family, is going to be indicted, it would be in the final act of Mueller's investigation, because Bob Mueller and I think his team knows that if he were to do something, indicting a Trump family member, or if he were to go forward with indictment on criminal conspiracy involving U.S. persons, that would basically be the death knell of the special counsel's office.
Okay, so we've got The Intercept's Glenn Greenwald saying, and Matt Taibbi of the Rolling Stones saying, this is just embarrassing. John Brennan, by the way, Glenn Greenwald pointing out that the media blindly relies on and hires federal security intelligence officials. Then they come on, they shape the public narrative when they are, quote, trained to lie. Where are the evidence for these claims that are made on the media, and where's the pushback from the media? Where is their watchdog role saying, hey, guys, where's your evidence? It seems that the watchdog role for the media failed.
It absolutely failed, and so much of this narrative was peddled by former CIA and FBI officials. And it's interesting because any journalist would never trust a source coming from the organization or the institution that is being investigated, and yet those were the sources to peddle the Russia collusion theory and to come out and claim that there was no FISA abuse, which of course we now know there certainly was. So these were not reliable sources. And in addition to that, the media has been relying on anonymous sources. And, you would think after the lead up to the 2016 election, when the media got so much wrong and they kind of tried to apologize and said they would change their ways, they haven't done that yet. And yet again, we're seeing, they are refusing to apologize for being wrong.
But Kelsey, they set the narrative for 2.5 years. We've got people still in this country listening to them, not apologizing, to your point, not setting their erroneous record straight, not saying we were wrong, we made mistakes, none of that. But we still have them. It's like there are two different worlds now split in this country. People who know the truth, who dug into the footnotes of that FISA report from the IG, who see what happened. And then there's another world where they're being just listening to what the media is saying with former intelligence officials, as Glenn Greenwald and former FBI officials. He says, quote, they are trained to lie. We know this for decades that these officials have been trained to lie, and they come into U.S. media doing this. The problem is we don't want this country, as critics say, turning into East Germany, right? Where we politically use the federal police force to spy on an opposition campaign.
It's a sad state for our media, and this is why organizations like Fox News and then smaller conservative outlets like the Daily Signal, where I work, like the Federalist, which did not stop reporting on all this. That's why these organizations are so important, because so much of the mainstream media is unreliable and they refuse to apologize when they get it wrong.
Okay, Kelsey Bolar, we're going to have you back. Thank you so much.
Thank you.